Welcome to Uxbridge Beat, the podcast where we feature the who's who of Uxbridge, Ontario. My name is Scott Campsell.
And I am Jennifer Neveu-Campsell. As a rural town, Uxbridge is home to many residents who are firearm owners.
James Mann, the owner of Uxbridge Arms, recognizes that many people, however, may be unfamiliar with the lifestyle that promotes hunting. He's eager to provide an opportunity for residents to learn more about the sustainability of hunting and help educate his customers as to the ownership and use of various firearms.
Uxbridge Arms is home to archery, to new and used guns, and all the required accessories.
Whether you're a veteran firearm owner, hunter, archery enthusiast, or just curious about it all, James Mann will tell you what puts the beat into his hunting heart.
Good afternoon, James. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you before we get into the business?
Well, my name is James Mann. I'm a professional consulting engineer. I worked in the mechanical engineering construction industry for about 40 years. Before that, I was born and raised on a farm in southern Ontario, and I spent my early life working on a farm with my dad, my parents, my brothers, and my sisters, and learned a lot in the way of sustainable living. And I've kind of structured my entire life around sustainability.
How did you get to Uxbridge?
Well, that's a good question. I currently reside in Port Perry, and I chose this area partly because of the small demographics. Have agricultural land there. And some years ago, I got involved in solar energy. So I was working on building solar energy projects all across Ontario. And a lot of these projects are in the Durham region area. So I ultimately resided in Port Perry to build out these projects and to maintain them to this day.
So why a firearm store in Uxbridge? What was the final thing where you said, that's the business I'm going to bring to Uxbridge?
Well, that's a very good question. And I guess my response would be that, my roots are kind of humble. I grew up on a farm, and it was very humble upbringing. My dad had 3 jobs. We had a 100-acre farm, but, as a farmer, we couldn't make a go of things. I have 3 brothers, 3 sisters, so it was a challenging upbringing. So I learned how to live sustainably. Like people talk about vegetable gardens. We had a huge vegetable garden. We had livestock, we had cash crops, we worked hard. And honestly, we didn't shop that much. We didn't need to because we produced most of the things that we needed. And over my career, or a lot of my career, I've dedicated towards trying to promote sustainability and energy conservation, renewable energy, solar panels, this type of thing. And something that has really gone by the wayside in our society over the past 20, 30 years is, true sustainability, being able to live off grid, being able to hunt for the sake of argument and sustainably harvest food from the wilderness. So I've opened a store called Uxbridge Arms, which promotes archery, firearms, hunting, and we have quite an extensive hunting camp, which is really targeted towards new hunters, the next generation of young people that may be curious about hunting, or they may just be interested in hunting. But we facilitate kind of an A to Z process where we can assist people to come up with a strategy as how they'd like to proceed and very cost effectively get involved in an actual hunt to produce a sustainable lifestyle.
What kind of education gets involved with trying to run a firearm store? You have to take courses, or is there a diploma or degree or something?
Well, first of all, you need to be a licensed firearms owner. That's for sure. One thing that I think most people realize, firearms are regulated in Canada, but I'd like to say that firearms are heavily regulated in Canada. Like to open a firearm store, it took me more than a year to, get everything in place to do so. And you don't generally get a lot of assistance from municipalities. You're not going to get assistance from your bank. You're not going to get assistance from your insurance company. There's a lot of challenges to get all the approvals in place. However, once everything is in place, then it's a really question of experience and knowledge of the industry.
So how long have you been in the industry?
Well, Uxbridge Arms is really a startup business as such. My experience predominantly is in engineering, sustainability, energy conservation. Uxbridge Arms is a new venture. And honestly, it's part of my retirement venture to give back to the community, because I see that sustainable living, in particular hunting and living in the wilderness and living off the land, this type of thing, is something that most people don't have any knowledge of. And I see this as an opportunity to be able to outreach to the next generation of Canadians who are interested in a true sustainable lifestyle.
Give us an example of how deer hunting, we spoke a little bit before we started recording, how that is a sustainable venture and how that's regulated.
Well, a lot of people may have a negative perception of hunting, but the reality is hunting is extremely, like firearms, is extremely regulated in Canada, as it should be. Licensed firearms owners in Canada, we support gun control. We support background checks, all this type of thing. But most importantly, when you look at hunting, hunting is extremely sustainable because the Ministry of Natural Resources and our conservation authorities are very, very instrumental, and they do an excellent job of maintaining wilderness populations, especially large game in particular, to make sure that these populations are in balance with humans and with in particular with farming. For example, if deer populations are left unchecked, then there's going to be lots of issues. There's going to be deer hit on the road. There's going to be big impacts to agriculture. Any licensed hunter, we have reporting obligations where we report the animals that are harvested, but also animals that we see in the wilderness, because this provides a lot of feedback to the Ministry of Natural Resources, so that they can allocate the number of permits for hunting every year. We pay fees, or we have to buy licenses, we buy tags. All that money is reinvested by the government back into conservation programs. And the population of deer, for example, is maintained at specific levels on purpose so that they don't interfere with farming and other activities. Another key fact that people may not be aware of is that generally, for example, with deer, the vast majority of hunting tags that are allocated are for male deers, with the reason being is that a very large population of female deers can be supported by a very small percentage of male deers. So removing a male deer or 5 male deers from a 1,000-acre parcel ultimately has no impact on the future growth and the sustainability of that particular herd of deer. It'll sustain itself and honestly will be even stronger with the impact of hunting. So the financial impacts are strong because that's reinvested in conservation. The actual herd itself is maintained. And I think that's the key word. It's sustainably maintained at a certain level, which is determined by the Minister of Natural Resources. There's job creation in, hunting guides and stores like Uxbridge Arms and other places. And probably the single biggest thing from my perspective is the food that is harvested from the wilderness is completely sustainable, but it is the most nutritional food that's available in the world. There's nothing in the supermarket that you could buy that would be remotely comparable.
Hey Uxbridge, when I first opened Okamikai Martial Arts and Fitness in September of 1999, we only had a small dojo with tiny change rooms, and we only offered karate classes. We now have a 3,000 square foot training facility, and that's not including our spacious change rooms with showers inside Body Fit Health Club. We still offer karate, but we also offer classes in Aikido, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and weapons including Japanese sword. We also have great fitness classes that'll keep you motivated to take your training to the next level. As much as I'm proud of these accomplishments, our biggest success is in our programs for children. We're not just happy with kids winning medals, we want them to win at life. That means increasing their focus, self-discipline, self-confidence, and self-esteem, and not just their self-defense skills. We haven't slowed down in our almost 25 years of operation. We've gotten bigger, better, and we're just getting started. Now is the time for you and your family to get started along with us. Contact us today at Okamikai Martial Arts and Fitness at okamikai.com.
So the food is natural, obviously, because it's out in the wilderness, and you're hunting something that hasn't been injected with steroids and all the other chemicals. But aside from that, so you're in a retail business, you have to sell product. I'm a person, let's say, that just walked in a store. I don't hunt myself. Jennifer doesn't hunt. Sell me on hunting. What are the perks and why would I want to get involved in hunting other than, like I said, the natural food product? Because to wake up at stupid o'clock in the morning to go and sit and freeze my tail off, what's the allure of hunting?
Well, first of all, we have no intention to convince anyone to hunt. Hunting is something that, some people are predisposed. I would use the word predisposed to hunting. They're curious about hunting, or perhaps they want to hunt. They've always thought about it, or they've had a relative that has hunted, and they may have some interest. Because there is millions of Canadians who currently own firearms and hunt. And usually this is a family heritage. It comes, from a father, from a friend. And, there's kind of a path. Your father might take you hunting as a young, boy or girl. You might go out hunting and you learn the basics of hunting. Unfortunately, I would say over the past 10, 20, 30 years, there's been somewhat of an erosion in our society, of hunting. And I think that one of my goals of opening the store is to refresh that situation and outreach to what I would call the next generation of Canadians who are either interested in hunting, curious about hunting, or just want to know more. Because I would never claim that I can convert someone, into a hunter that doesn't have an interest. People that are curious would come to the store, or they can go on to our website, because we are at the end of the day promoting the sale of firearms, archery, and all the related accessories. One of the key things, though, to outreach to the community, the greater Ontario community, is a hunting camp that we've opened. Now, the hunting camp is really the bridge between a firearm store and the greater community, because we have 2,000 acres of private land that we've contracted with. And this land is being set up for with hunting blinds very, very specifically for new hunters. And what I mean by that is a lot of existing hunters, they have a piece of land they own, or they may have a friend, or they may hunt on Crown land. Crown land is essentially land owned by all citizens. But you can go on this Crown land and hunt, but there's certain issues because, often it's crowded. There's many people there. So our hunting camp is being developed systematically over the next few years. We just opened this year. And very much we're encouraging new hunters to come to the store, talk to us. And if you don't have a firearms license, for example, we could work with you to get your firearms license if that's your motivation. Some people aren't interested in that. Some people are interested, for example, in archery. And with archery, the hunting season is much longer, so it's very popular. We can teach you the basics. We can get you set up with the proper equipment. And then for as little as $250, we can get you started in an actual hunt on a piece of property where there's dozens or hundreds of known deer or other species. We have elk, moose, other opportunities. Currently, in this year, we're only offering deer opportunities. And again, it starts at $250 for archery. And the intent is to start a conversation with someone. Someone might live in Toronto or in an urban environment, perhaps lives in a condominium, perhaps works at a bank, and just hasn't had an opportunity in his or her life to even consider hunting. But now all of a sudden, you can come and talk to us and we'll discuss it with you. And if you want to go to the next step, we would usually encourage archery as a first step. If you want to skip that step, you can go to the firearm route. There's two choices. There's a rifle option, shotgun is another option, and then there's what's called black powder. Black powder, it's very interesting. It's more of an antique type of firearm, but that's another option which is available in December. So starting October 1st, we offer archery, and we more or less provide everything. And you had mentioned earlier that why would I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, freezing cold, walk out into the forest, tripping and stumbling, climb a tree, get into a tree stand.
That's selling me.
but that's the point. We've changed that. Yeah, we have a completely different strategy. Our strategy, we have hunting blinds, which are more or less cabins in the wilderness, which are insulated, and they have 6 windows and a door. And they're strategically located on typically 1,000 acres of land that we own or lease.
And where's the land?
Well, it's in Eastern Ontario.
Okay.
I don't want to give away specific geographical locations just for privacy reasons, but about 2 hours east of Toronto.
Okay.
And we have 3 hunting camps. So we have a total of 2,000 acres of land that we offer. And this year we're offering, we have 5 blinds. Just think of a small cabin. It's deep in the wilderness, okay? And it's on a trail that's been cut through the forest where there's known deer populations. You're going to come to our camp. Well, first of all, you have to go to a safety interview in our store. This is number one. We're going to discuss, make sure you have a proper hunting license, make sure you have the proper equipment. And then our hunting camp, as I said, these cabins are deep in the wilderness. And you're going to arrive at the cabin at 1 o'clock in the afternoon at our camp. We'll give you the address. There's a parking lot. You park your car. You're going to have a sleeping bag. You're going to have your archery equipment, rifle, black powder, whatever your choice is in the way of equipment. And you're going to bring a bag lunch, dinner, this type of thing. And then we're going to walk you in. There'll be an experienced hunting supervisor on site. We're going to walk you in, and it could be up to half a mile of walking. We're going to walk you in, though. There's a back door into the cabin, and we're going to get you there by 3 p.m. And the reason we're going to get you there by 3 p.m. is that the prime time to hunt is from 3 p.m. until dark. Now, you can hunt 30 minutes past sunset and 30 minutes before sunrise. This is the legal hunting opportunity. So prime time is in the evening. Late in the evening, just as the sun is setting. This is prime time typically. And so you'll be able to stay in the cabin. You won't generally leave this cabin. There's a washroom facility, there's 5 gallons of water, and there's sleeping accommodations. So if you are unsuccessful at taking a shot in the evening, then you'll sleep in the cabin, wake up at whatever sunrise, 30 minutes before sunrise, and you'll have another hunt from, say, 6 o'clock in the morning until 11 a.m. is when we extract you from the cabin. Now, if for any reason whatsoever you are successful and you take a shot, you're not allowed to leave the cabin. You can leave the cabin in an emergency, but generally speaking, the whole point for your safety, you stay in the cabin. You're going to have a cell phone. We have cell phone reception in the area. You'll text us or call us. And if you've taken a shot, even if the shot's unsuccessful, you'll contact us. Then we will come out. We're going to send our camp supervisor. Because often if you take a shot at a deer, even if it's a successful shot, the deer may still run for 50 meters or 100 meters. So we will track the deer with you if you want to do that, because some people may not want to do that, but we want to encourage people to be trained. We want to train you. We want to track the deer. We're going to show you how to track the deer, find the deer. And then there's something called field dressing, which is, preliminary preparation of the deer in the field. This is something that we will train you how to do. And then we will transport the deer to a local butcher or taxidermy shop, whatever your preferences are. These are all added costs. A $250 hunt, that's the basic cost for a basic hunt for archery. And we just opened this camp a couple of weeks ago. And we were at the Uxbridge Fair, as a matter of fact, promoting our new hunting camp. And we think this is an outreach to the next generation of hunters that do not have an opportunity or a path to hunt. So we are providing that bridge through Uxbridge Arms.
So this isn't just jump out and go and say, oh, I want to go and kill an animal. This actually sounds like you're getting into something like nature. Like you're almost like not camping because you're in a cabin, I guess, but well, Japanese have this thing walking in forest, just as forest bathing, just to get energy and stuff like that. So you're not just talking about buying food, you're talking about an actual activity where you're going out and discovering nature in a sense. Am I right?
Well, certainly. But beyond that, our structure and policy with our hunting blinds, these hunting blinds are insulated, they're like completely enclosed, and they're structured to allow one person or 2 people. So we have a lot of interest from a parent with a sibling or a child, for example, like a father-son, mother-daughter. One of our very first hunts in the year is a mother-daughter situation, because it's a very significant bonding opportunity for 2 people to spend time together in this type of situation, because it's a situation where you can't make noise. You're not going to have a radio blasting. You are required to have a cell phone for safety purposes and also to communicate with us. But a big part of it is bonding with the person you're with. You can certainly go alone, in which case you're bonding with nature. You're immersed in nature, and the point of this experience is to be as silent as possible. Within the confines of the cabin, you can speak. We would encourage you to whisper and keep your voice down. Have a candle, have a flashlight. There's mattresses to sleep on. You'll bring a sleeping bag. It's rustic. This is not a 5-star hotel. The point of this whole exercise is to be immersed in nature and to hunt. And we bait these cabins very strategically. And right now we're baiting them for archery, which means we're baiting them at 18 to 25 yards. So even a new hunter, you don't need years of training with archery equipment or crossbow. This is something with just a couple of days practice, you will be quite successful in being able to repeatedly hit a target within 1 or 2 inches at this distance. And the key that we want to instill in all of our clients is not the shot you're going to take, it's the shot you're not going to take. Because there will be lots of situations where wildlife will come into the camp, you'll see them, but you do not want to take a shot. You observe them, you're going to wait, because the last thing we want to do is to injure a deer or any other wildlife. That's not the intent. The intent of our camp is to harvest, sustainably harvest a deer and other wildlife, and it has to be done under our rules and regulations. So there's training that we provide, to every client. Typically, it's in the way of, videos and conversations in our store. And then when you arrive at the camp, we have additional discussions and training with you. But very, very important that when and if you take a shot, it's the right shot at the right time. And we're going to make sure that you know what shot to take, when to take it. And, we have an extensive series of videos that we're in the process of creating to give to all of our clients, So when they arrive at 3:00 at the camp, they have a chair, they're going to sit there and they're going to immerse in nature and wait for an opportunity. That opportunity may not arise. It may not arise. And there may be opportunities to take a shot. And we're going to encourage you not to take a shot, because when you take the shot, we want it to be a successful shot. We want you to harvest a deer sustainably and take home 150 pounds of meat, enough meat to keep your family fed for a year. But to do that, we believe it has to be ethical and it has to be sustainable. So a lot of our training is about the shot not to take, as opposed to the shot that
this
you will
sounds
take.
like this is the way that your business, Uxbridge Arms, is going to totally separate yourself from the competition. Do other stores offer something like this?
Well, we really don't have any competition when it comes to hunting camp. When it comes to selling firearms, obviously, yes, you can go to Canadian Tire and buy a shotgun, and you can go, many places. But my vision for the store is to fill a gap that's missing in the industry, because our society is, over the past 20, 30 years, is changing into this big box store. And then now everything is online, right? You can buy firearms online, by the way. It's completely legal and people do it all the time. However, the dilemma with that is, if you buy a shotgun or a hunting rifle online, like, how do you hunt? How do you, harvest a deer or turkey or a bear or anything else, right? So we see ourselves as taking a step back from the direction our society is going. When it comes to buying a tablecloth for your kitchen table, sure, you can buy that online. I don't see any disadvantage of that. But when it comes to buying a hunting rifle, or if you want to get engaged in competition archery, if you want to take a step towards the Olympics, if you want to have a sustainable lifestyle, that's not necessarily something you're going to pick up on Amazon, or, maybe I shouldn't use the word Amazon as a, I know there's nothing negative towards those guys. It's just more that I see that I think there's more of an opportunity to fill a void where we can help people fill this void and take a step towards a sustainable lifestyle.
How much personalization is there into a firearm? Is it sort of like trucks, where you could buy a different grill, you could buy a different bumper, special kind of exhaust? Is it something that somebody would take pride in enough that they would buy accessories? And if so, do you sell those accessories?
Well, certainly. I think your example of a vehicle, a truck, or a car is a very good example, because most firearms owners take great pride in their firearm. Accessories are endless, essentially. To keep costs down, most firearms manufacturers will sell a firearm very basic format with, the stock part that you put against your shoulder, for example, is typically made of just plastic. And that's just to keep the cost down. So then, and there's nothing, there's no requirement to upgrade it. But most people will take this out and start to use it in target shooting or hunting or some other purpose. And then one of the first things they'll want to do is to upgrade the stock to make it fit their shoulder. And there's many different types of styles. And then optics, scopes can be added on, many different types of range finders, slings, cases, accessories. It really is endless. And again, it boils back to personal preference. And I would say that people take a lot of pride in their firearms, because often firearms are owned, and I can speak for myself personally. Like, I have a firearm I've owned since I was 8 years old. I still have it. My dad gave it to me, and it works just as well as the day he gave it to me. Firearms have a very long life expectancy. They do ultimately wear out, but if you buy a high quality firearm, it literally will last you your entire life, and you could keep it for 5, 10, 15 years. Sell it and probably recoup all of your original investment and possibly even the profit.
We were on your website. We saw that you had pre-owned firearms. So do you do consignment?
Actually, we do. We prefer to actually just purchase the firearms, used firearms from people. And the reason is it's a little simpler, because, if there's some negotiation in the sale of the firearm, we don't have to keep going back to you and ask your permission to lower the price, this type of thing. Our concept is to purchase it from you with cash or EMT or store credit, and then we can resell it. And then we plan on dramatically increasing the number of used firearms in our store, because it really is a very big market that is underserved. There's lots of people that are interested. And there's a lot of people interested in particular in older military firearms, for example, like a World War I, World War II Canadian Lee-Enfield rifle. These are rifles that were used by the Canadian military during the Great Wars. And they're available. You can actually own one. You can hold it. You can take it. And they're non-restricted. You can actually take it out to the forest, and people hunt with them. Routinely, people hunt with these. Some of the Soviet rifles, the German rifles, they're all available in the marketplace. They're typically bolt action, so they're considered non-restricted hunting rifles. But they're highly collectible. They're sought after. Unfortunately, the pricing on them is getting quite expensive because there is a limited quantity. And every year, there's more and more people kind of interested in owning them because you're allowed to legally own them. You're allowed to legally shoot them, for hunting or for target shooting. So they're quite collectible. And it is part of our offering for sure.
We're going to do a, pardon the pun, last portion called a rapid fire.
I love it.
So you can make your answers quick and rapid, or if they take a little bit longer to elaborate upon, that's fine with us. What's the best part of your job?
Being out in the wilderness, meeting new people, meeting young people who are interested in hunting or just being immersed in nature.
What's the worst part of your job?
Dealing with government bureaucracy and politics of the industry.
What's your favorite firearm that you own?
Cooey 22. My dad gave me when I was 8 years old. I still own it.
And do you have a coveted firearm that you've got your eye on that you would really love to have in your collection that you don't have yet?
I would say that would be a Lee Enfield sniper rifle, which would have been produced potentially here in Toronto, and I don't have one, and that would be on my coveted list.
Why is that?
Well, these are rifles that were used by Canadians. A lot of people don't, realize the sacrifice that was made in World War I and World II by Canadians. The number of Canadians that lost their lives or, were casualties or were injured. Today we talk about mental illness and, post-traumatic syndrome and all these types of things. Back during World War I and World War II, you were just called a coward and told to go back to the line because, these illnesses weren't understood. There was so much given by so many Canadians in prior years, okay? And it's lost today. People don't realize it. So these rifles, having it in my hand, I have a personal connection with someone that held that rifle and someone that gave up part of their life for the society and the lifestyle that we benefit from, that many people here don't appreciate.
Who's your favorite hunting buddy?
My son.
How old is your son?
He's 28.
What's your favorite hunting season?
That's kind of a difficult question. I would say probably deer season starts October 1st.
What's your favorite type of customer?
An absolute newbie customer who knows nothing about firearms, who is just curious about hunting or curious about firearms and just wants to have more information or wants to have the opportunity to actually hold or shoot a firearm, because this is something that we actually offer. We take what I call newbies, just these young people. We take them out to one of our properties and we show them how to properly handle a firearm and under obviously proper supervision. We may allow them to fire a firearm. We do skeet shooting and we do 22 caliber rim firing. And these are introductory type of situations where people and most people, once they see this and they feel the excitement, the adrenaline and the fun with this sport, I would say 90% of people continue with the adventure of firearms.
How long is the training before they get to go to a camp?
Well, you can start next week.
So you could do training, I could start next week, start the training. How long would the training be?
A big part of it is up to you, because as the owner of the company, I have an obligation for safety. Safety is our number one obligation to society. And it's our number one obligation to you. So part of training is that, we need to meet you. We need to go through what your goals and expectations are. Then you need to invest time in practice. Okay. Let's say for the sake of argument, we're talking about archery. You need to spend time to attain accuracy and precision. Accuracy and precision are different things. And we'll explain this during the training session. But you need to be able to, at 20 or 30 yards, within 1 or 2 inches, repeatedly hit a target. Now, quite honestly, if your vision is good and, if you're physically strong, because archery, there is some, strength issues. You can with crossbow, which there are almost no strength issues, but there is this process that we have to walk you through where you have to demonstrate to us that you can repeatedly hit the target at 20 yards, 30 yards. And for most people who are with good vision and reasonable strength, could probably achieve that within a few days or a week. And honestly, probably your first time trying this, you'll be able to, repeatedly hit the target your first time. This is not difficult. But part of this is you also don't want to be out in the middle of the wilderness and have this chance of an opportunity where, you know, a buck comes into the camp and everything is perfect. You also, in your heart, need to be confident that you can make this shot and that your nerves aren't going to, you know, overcome you or some other issue. So there's a whole bunch of challenges. So in theory, my answer to your question is, you know, you could hunt next week. But the reality is it's a personal thing. And we don't want to push people excessively to say, oh, yeah, you can hunt next week. The reality is it's a path to immerse yourself in nature, to learn certain basic skills that you may not currently have. We'll provide these skills to you and we'll work with you, partner with you, and you will ultimately be successful in harvesting a deer or other animal. It may not be your first time out. It likely won't be your first time out, but you will ultimately be successful. And your success is directly proportional to your motivation. The more you want to practice, the more motivated you are to go out, the higher the probability of your success.
Good answer.
Who's someone who is currently alive, whether you know them or not, that you'd like to sit down and have a coffee and a conversation with?
Justin Trudeau.
And someone who's passed away that you'd like that opportunity with?
My father.
When you die...
Notice we just like sort of slumped
Oh,
over.
we're just going to walk right over.
We're gonna walk by Justin Trudeau. We're not even going to talk about Trudeau.
Nope. This episode will not stop.
But we will stop on your father. Were you close with your father?
Well, I think everyone is close with their parents, right? But I had a turbulent youth, you know, very isolated, rural environment. It was an austere environment with lots of kids and lots of siblings, I guess I should say. And, you know, we weren't wealthy and we worked hard. And the day I lost my father is, you know, I just wish I had 5 more minutes just to talk to him, right? You know, it's something I'd like to tell everybody. Like, you know, you should treat every day of your life like that, right? Whether it's your spouse, your parent, sibling, friend, because you don't know when that day is going to happen, when you're going to lose someone, right?
How long ago did you lose your father?
That would have been 38 years ago.
When you die, what do you hope God says to you?
I hope that he would say that I've lived a good life and that I've treated my fellow humans in a respectful and a positive way, and that I've done that I've had a net positive result on the planet Earth.
A net positive result.
Net positive result.
Excellent answer. Thank you for spending the time with us. I've learned a lot.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much. This is
We really appreciate it.
I appreciate your time.
When we first started talking about this episode, you had voiced that you thought this might be something of a controversial nature. And I remember when we first realized that there was going to be a firearms store in Uxbridge, and you had sent me the post about it. I think it was on Facebook. And you just sent me the post. And my answer was, well, it's about time. There are so many stores, fast food joints. Now we got so many pot shops. We've got so many different combinations of the same business. And yet at the same time, we don't have a firearms store. We have Canadian Tire, obviously, but as far as I know, there aren't a lot of places where you can buy firearms. And we have a huge hunting community in the area. So when we started talking about doing this interview, I know, yeah, there's a lot of controversy about it, and there's a lot of politics as far as even dealing with firearms and firearms registrations and regulations and all that stuff. But I'm reminded you and I have been watching Ted Lasso, or we just finished watching Ted Lasso. And there's an episode in there where he's playing darts, and there's a comment where he says something about be curious, not judgmental. And since we did this interview, I have talked to a friend of mine who's a hunter, and not only have I had conversations with him about it, now I'm taking the hunting course, and I have actually learned a heck of a lot about just even what is my dominant eye and how to figure out which one's my dominant eye. And apparently what you can do is you can make a triangle out of your hands. So you overlap your thumbs and you overlap your fingers and you look through the triangle, and then you see an object that is in front of you. You start bringing your hands to your face. And as you do that, it should go to one particular eye, and that is your actual dominant eye. So I'm right-handed, my left eye is dominant. So even just something like that, I've learned now because I've been taking this course, and I would never have learned that if I was not curious and not judgmental.
Hold on a second, I'm making a triangle. No, I can't tell. My contacts are for different distances anyway, so that doesn't work for me. And good point. And I think the people who might be judgmental about it already have a basis from which they have an opinion. I didn't have an opinion. So I'm very curious about it. And it was a very interesting perspective that he had in terms of the level of sustainability that's being promoted through hunting and all of the regulations that go into that. When it comes to things like firearms ownerships and government control, gun control, Canadian control versus the States, I'm not even going to wade into those waters. And I'm sure there will be comments in the post, in the blog, or whatever. There are going to be people who wade into the waters we very specifically didn't want to, because that's not what the episode was about. And I hope that anybody who has the opportunity to listen to it and to have some understanding, or maybe a little bit more understanding about the sustainability of the hunting aspect, can learn a little bit more, just like you and I did.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I get it. I understand why people would rather harvest their meat in that kind of environment, just because you and I have started buying bison from Thunder Ridge because we trust that. We trust that there are not going to be chemicals and all the other garbage that can go in store-bought meat, and we're enjoying that. So I totally get why people do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are going to be a lot of vegetarians and vegans who will absolutely disagree with that vehemently all around.
Yeah, we're not going to there either.
Nope.
No.
And that's not an argument we're interested in having. Probably neither are they, because the perspectives won't be seen on either side, right? However, you and I need to actually head into the firearms store. We haven't done that yet.
No. And again, be curious, not judgmental. This has been a Capsule Broadcasting production.
Mate, what do I need to win?
2 triple 20s and a bullseye.
Good luck. You know, Rupert, guys have underestimated me my entire life. And for years, I never understood why. It used to really bother me. But then one day, I was driving my little boy to school, and I saw this quote by Walt Whitman. It was painted on the wall there. It said, "Be curious, not judgmental." I like that. So I get back in my car and I'm driving to work, and all of a sudden it hits me. All them fellas that used to belittle me, not a single one of them were curious. You know, they thought they had everything all figured out, and so they judged everything, and they judged everyone. And I realized that they're underestimating me. Who I was had nothing to do with it. Because if they were curious, they would ask questions, you know? Questions like, have you played a lot of darts, Ted? Which I would have answered, yes, sir. Every Sunday afternoon at a sports bar with my father from age 10 until I was 16 when he passed away. Barbecue sauce. Good game, Rupert.
Come on, let's go.